Molweni, and welcome to another episode of Fresh Perspective, where we'll be taking another look at life. One of the best things that my wife and I have done for our relationship is to have date mornings. These dates would start as soon as we got up and we each got a cup of coffee, we'd sit on the couch, and then we would do one of two things. Either we would read and discuss books or work through a specific course together. Um, this would happen every morning until the book or course was done. Then we would pick a new book or course and work through that one. I literally have hundreds, probably thousands of pages of notes that I took during these morning dates over the years. The second thing is we would have a dialogue about a specific frustration one of us has using the Imago dialogue structure. And this date would be a weekly date. And these morning dates are where my definition of love was born. And if you missed that one, my definition of love is to do what's important without it being urgent and even when it's difficult. So if you missed that discussion, please go check out How to Feel Deeply Loved. Let me briefly try and explain the two types of morning dates. And I'll try and add as much detail as I can and repeat some of the important aspects of it as I go. So firstly, reading books and doing courses together. So how it works is each morning we would read or listen to a book or watch a video of a course for 10 minutes while we each take notes about what we find interesting or relevant to our relationship. When reading a book, obviously one person takes notes, but luckily we have Audible now, so we listen to audiobooks. We will then spend another 10 minutes sharing the things we discovered and discussing how we can apply these discoveries to ourselves as individuals and or to our relationship. And that's it. That's 20 minutes of high quality time invested in our relationship. And here's how it relates to my definition of love. Firstly, is it important? Yes. Investing in our relationship is very important. We often don't do that. Why? It leads us to the second question. Is it urgent? No. So investing in our relationship often only becomes urgent when there's a crisis. And even then, most couples, and this is not just applicable to relationship, when there's a crisis, we investing in ourselves or our relationship becomes urgent, but usually we just wait it out until things settle again, and then we continue as before. We don't really start investing time and energy into our relationship. Lastly, can it be difficult? Yes, it can be very difficult to get up each morning and discuss these topics because they are so important. They're often very difficult to discuss and explore, and I'll say a bit more about that later. So we would choose books or courses that addressed a topic that we felt was either important and difficult or both important and difficult. So maybe it was something that would cause frustration or misunderstanding between us. And because we set aside this time, this topic would stop becoming something that would pop up only when it became urgent, when it became a fight. And the bit of structure we used, the 10 minutes of reading or listening and the 10 minutes of writing helped us to just explore these topics systematically. Some of the topics was like hurt, doubt, shame, our dreams and aspirations and why we are afraid of pursuing them. So as you can hear, it's still focusing on your inner world, you, and how that relates to the relationship. So please let me know if that's clear enough. I'll be glad to add more detail if you need it. Okay, so the next one is the frustration dialogue. So like I said, this is a weekly date. So we would pick a specific day each week on which we would voice a specific irritation or frustration, and then discuss it in a meaningful way, a structured way, using the Imago relationship therapy techniques. For us, it's usually a Tuesday morning. So 1 week, I would voice a specific frustration. Definitely not all my frustrations, that's important. You pick one. And the next week, Nicolene, my wife, would voice her specific frustration. This helps with a few things. One, you get an opportunity every 2 weeks to talk about a frustration. And because of that, you start sifting through what's truly important to you. What are the big topics for you? Two, because you know there's time set aside where your partner will give full attention to your frustration, you no longer hint and nudge them about it, by subtly or not so subtly pointing it out and blaming them. Thirdly, because there is a specific time, you can no longer shy away from talking about these things. So some of us want to talk about these things consistently, and some of us shy away and avoid these things and hope they go away. So this structure forces you in a way to talk about these difficult things, to find the words to explain what bothers you and why. You can no longer point out the mistakes of your partner or blame them for your frustration. You take responsibility for that, because your frustrations are part of your inner world, your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, which leads to certain actions. Okay, number 4. After hearing your partner's frustration, you have a week to think about your frustration. So maybe it'll relate to what your partner voiced. So that's good. So you can say, okay, this is my side of that frustration. You have a week to think about how you want to communicate that. But even more importantly is you have time to find ways to alleviate the frustration of your partner. That still doesn't mean you take responsibility for them or their frustration. You take responsibility for what you can control. For your inner world. So if you missed our discussion on taking responsibility of your inner world, go check out episode number 1 in this series. Okay, so how does this relate to this definition of love that I shared? Love is doing what's important, even when it's not urgent or even when it's difficult, without it being urgent or even when it's difficult. So here's the questions again. Is it important? Yes, it's important to talk about frustrations, and it's I'd say even more important to find the words to explain them, your frustrations, and understand why. Is it urgent? No, definitely not. We usually only talk about our frustrations either by subtly hinting about it, nudging our partner, and correcting our partner or blaming our partner, or we withdraw. And that's our way of hinting that something is wrong or something is bothering us. Or it only becomes urgent when it's a fight. Then it's urgent. But having a weekly discussion about frustrations, that's not urgent. Can it be difficult? Yes, of course. When we criticize and correct our partners consistently, that's the blaming and the victim mindset that we discussed in previous episodes. That's easy. To blame and criticize and find fault, that's easy. Being vulnerable and honest is hard. It's very hard. And we fight because then our need for change regarding a specific frustration has become urgent. And then that's another level of difficulty. but without allowing it to escalate, doing the things that stops it from escalating into a fight, finding the words and communicating that with emotional and mental maturity is hard. It's a hard skill to develop, but as you work on it, you become better at it. And also, scheduling and structuring this kind of conversation creates the space for us to give and show love. Give and show love. This is what this space does. So you're talking about something, frustration, which we'll label as bad usually, but that's actually a gift because you are able to talk about deeper and important things. So it's an opportunity to give and show love for your partner, but also love for yourself. Okay, so how can you use this in your life, in other areas? So I want to kind of give a framework that you can apply in different scenarios. Okay, so identify an area that's important to you. So that's the first bit of the definition of love. Doing what's important. So identify an area that's important to you, but you often procrastinate on it, either because it's not urgent, or if you're really honest, because it's hard, it's difficult. So that's why you procrastinate on it. Find and identify an area like that. Now apply this definition of love by setting aside specific time and giving it a definite structure. So time and structure. What's important? What time will I address it, and what structure will I give it? So it's like going to the gym. You pick a specific time, you use a specific program to address and accomplish an important goal. So I hope that makes sense to you and gives you a bit of structure how you can apply to other areas in your life. And please feel free to contact me if you want any guidance with this process. I would be happy to help you if I can. But for now, remember, if you change your perspective, you can transform your life. All right, till next time. Salang Gabotsi.